General Concepts in Taxation 1. Prospectivity of Tax Laws 2. Imprescriptibility of Taxes 3. Situs of Taxation 4. Double Taxation 5. Escape from Taxation 6. Exemption from Taxation 7. Prohibition on Compensation and Set-off 8. Compromise 9. Tax Amnesty 1. Prospectivity of Tax Laws General Rule. Tax laws are prospective in operation. Exception. Tax laws may be applied retroactively provided it is expressly declared or it is clearly the legislative intent except when retroactive application would be so harsh and oppressive. 2. Imprescriptibility of taxes unless otherwise provided by law, taxes are imprescriptible. 3. Situs of Taxation. Situs of Taxation literally means the place of taxation. Factors that determine situs: A. Nature of the tax, B. Subject matter of the tax: person, property, act or activity, C. Possible protection and benefit that may accrue both to the government and the taxpayer, D. Citizenship of the taxpayer, E. Residence of the taxpayer, F. Source of income. 4. Double taxation. Double taxation means taxing the same property twice when it should be taxed only once. That is, taxing the same person twice by the same jurisdiction for the same thing. A. Double taxation in strict sense. Direct duplicate taxation. The requisites are: 1. Both taxes must be imposed on the same property or subject matter. 2. For the same purpose. 3. By the same state, government, or taxing authority. 4. Within the same territory, jurisdiction or taxing district. 5. During the same taxing period, and 6. Of the same kind or character of tax. B. Double taxation on broad sense. Indirect duplicate taxation. There is double taxation in the broad sense or indirect duplicate taxation, if any of the elements for direct duplicate taxation is absent. Constitutionality of double taxation. There is no constitutional prohibition against double taxation in the Philippines. It is something not favored, but is permissible, provided some other constitutional requirement is not thereby violated. Modes of eliminating international double taxation: A. Allowing reciprocal exemption either by law or by treaty, B. Allowance of tax credit for foreign taxes paid, C. Allowance of deductions such as for foreign taxes paid, and vanishing deductions in estate tax, or D. Reduction of Philippine tax rate. 5. Escape from taxation. A. Shifting of tax burden. Shifting is the act of transferring the burden of a tax from the original payer or the one on whom the tax was assessed or imposed to someone else. What is transferred is not the payment of the tax but the burden of the tax. Note: all indirect taxes may be shifted, direct taxes cannot be shifted. Taxes that can be shifted: 1. Value added tax. 2. Percentage tax. 3. Excise tax. B. Tax avoidance. Tax minimization, the exploitation by the taxpayer of legally permissible alternative tax rates or methods of assessing taxable property or income in order to avoid or reduce tax liability. It is politely called tax minimization, and is not punishable by law. C. Tax evasion. Tax dodging. Tax evasion is the use by the taxpayer of illegal or fraudulent means to defeat or lessen the payment of a tax. It is also known as tax dodging. It is punishable by law. D. Transformation, a method of escape in taxation whereby the manufacturer or producer upon whom the tax has been imposed pays the tax and endeavors to recoup himself by improving his process of production, thereby turning out his units of products at a lower cost. The taxpayer escapes by a transformation of the tax into a gain through the medium of production. Exemption from taxation, the grant of immunity to particular persons or corporations or to persons or corporations of a particular class from a tax which persons and corporations generally within the same state or taxing district are obliged to pay. It is an immunity or privilege. It is freedom from a financial charge or burden to which others are subjected. It is strictly construed against the taxpayer. It is a waiver of the government's right to collect the amounts that would have been collectible under our tax laws. When granted, they are strictly construed against the taxpayer. 7. Prohibition on compensation and set-off general rule. Taxes cannot be subject to compensation reason. The government and the taxpayer are not creditors and debtors of each other. There is a material distinction between a tax and debt. Debts are due to the government in its corporate capacity, while taxes are due to the government in its sovereign capacity. Exception. If the claims against the government have been recognized and an amount has already been appropriated for that purpose. Where both claims have already become a. due, b. demandable, and c. fully liquidated. 8. Compromise requisites of a tax compromise. A. The taxpayer must have a tax liability. B. There must be an offer by the taxpayer or commissioner of an amount to be paid by the taxpayer. C. There must be acceptance by the commissioner or the taxpayer, as the case may be, of the offer and settlement of the original claim. 9. Tax amnesty. A tax amnesty partakes of an absolute forgiveness or waiver by the government of its right to collect what otherwise would be due it, and in this sense, prejudicial thereto, particularly to give tax evaders, who wish to relent and are willing to reform, a chance to do so and become a part of the new society with a clean slate. If granted, the terms of the amnesty, like that of a tax exemption, must be construed strictly against the taxpayer and liberally in favor of the taxing authority. Amnesty distinguished from tax exemption. Tax amnesty is immunity from all criminal and civil obligations arising from non-payment of taxes. It is a general pardon given to all taxpayers. It applies to past tax periods, hence of retroactive application. Tax exemption is immunity from all civil liability only. It is an immunity or privilege, a freedom from a charge or burden of which others are subjected.